What is up everyone, my name is FrankieW and welcome back to my live. Today we're going to talk about all the books I read in January and February. So let's talk about the books I've been reading for the last 2 months. I have my reading journal here, so we're going to go over everything and kind of talk about my stats first and foremost. We have my January spread, and we also have my, it's actually not done I don't think, February spread. I don't have a calendar for it actually. Okay, so talking about stats, in these last 2 months I read 7 books, which is 918 pages and 18.52 hours of reading. In terms of genre, I read 3 fantasy books, 2 LGBTQIA books, 2 middle grade books, 2 mystery books, 2 mangas, 1 romance, 1 memoir, 1 literary, 1 contemporary, and that's a total of 6 fiction books, 1 non-fiction book, 4 print books, and 3 audiobooks. Starting off with January, there's only 1 book I read in January, and that's The House in the Cerulean Sea by klune. This book follows Linus Baker, who's a caseworker, social worker in this department in charge of magical youth. So I think it's the DCMY, but I think they have an A in there, so it's like DACME. So the department in charge of magical youth, and it's this department that kind of, it's literally like being a social worker, except it's for children who have these spectacular powers, and they're put in these homes in society. And basically there's a lot of mistreatment and malpractice that comes with people raising these spectacular youth. So we meet Linus, who's in his 40s. He's been doing this for a while, and he's very dutiful and by the book when it comes to him covering these cases, and I don't think he's ever thought about what happens after he does these cases. I started this book in December in my Christmas on a Cruise vlog, but I finished it in January. And basically reading this while on a cruise, like in the ocean, was really nice and serene. But the last 100-something pages I read here in LA, or between here and home. I can't even remember when I finished this book, but basically Linus arrives to this island. He's greeted by a town that kind of hates the children that live on this like spectacular island. For the first time, he's kind of face to face with a lot of mistreatment for the children that he cares so much about. He always believes in the system. He believes that the system will help these children. He believes that the system is there to support these children. And until he's kind of faced with proof that it doesn't, his world is kind of shattered and shaked a bit. And I thought I'd read you what I wrote as my review in my reading journal, and I give it 5 stars. The reason I picked this book is because someone in Barnes & Noble took the time to tell me that they loved this book and it was their book club, and that their book club was raving about it. The House in the Cerulean Sea by klune gives the same feels that watching the teachers from Heartstopper fall in love does. I love stories that prove you're never too old to go on your next big adventure. In a way, this story could be synonymous with how mutants are treated and discriminated against in X-Men. Seeing how Linus Baker comes to love these children and them loving him in return is so beautiful. Linus learns to take charge as someone who has taken a passive role in his life. It's so fascinating to see his agency grow and his personality shift. Seeing the town begin to accept the kids and the mayor take a large role in protecting the children gave me hope in an unfortunately dark time. And I think that's a good way to kind of think about it. It's a very aspirational book in a way, because Linus is this caseworker who's really there to just study Arthur Parnassus, and we never really learn too much about Arthur until kind of the middle to end, so I don't want to give any spoilers away, but it's proven to Linus that the system that he believes in, the system that he cares so much about, is not the same. And then it's also like Linus is an elderly, I don't want to say elderly, that's not right. He's an elder gay man. He's in his 40s, and honestly I think he kind of believed that it was past his prime to be in a relationship or find someone who would care about him, and then kind of in comes Arthur and they are in love. It's so cute. I love this book. It was just so cute, and also the kids in it do so much for the story. It's kind of silly because I haven't really talked about the kids at all while I'm talking about this because I love Linus's development, but a lot of his development stems from these children. And it's so funny because one of the reviews, I think the Shelf Awareness, said quite possibly the greatest feel-good story to ever involve the Antichrist. And that's enough for me to be like, what do you mean by that? And yeah, I don't want to give too much away. I want you to kind of learn about these children and their magical powers yourself. And yeah, I really like this book, and I'm really interested in picking up another TJ Klune. So now we're in February. The next couple of books that I read in February are actually part of a reading vlog that hopefully came out before this video. I don't go into detail about my reviews in that video, so I saved them for this video, but let's get on with it. The first book I read in February would be Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events. I will say that I have watched the movie a long time ago, and then I've seen part of the Netflix series, so I kind of know bits and pieces of how this story goes. I actually don't know anything past maybe episode 5 of the Netflix show, so that's like book 5, and so I'm still really interested in discovering more. I believe that the Series of Unfortunate Events has like 13 books, so who knows if I'm gonna read all of them this year. They're very quick, so it's kind of like an in-between filler book that I was really interested in, but again, I'm not sure what we'll do there. But for those who don't know, A Series of Unfortunate Events follows the Baudelaire children who have recently become orphans, and they are told in their parents' will, it is said that they should go to their closest living relative, and the adults in these stories are kind of incompetent, so it wouldn't surprise me if they were supposed to go to their closest relative who was like their closest as in their uncle or aunt, but they went to the one that lived closest to them, which is Count Olaf, and I don't remember how he's related to them, but basically he concocts a scheme to steal the Baudelaire fortune from these children, and because he can't have access to, the kids don't have access to their fortune until Violet turns of age 18, and at the time maybe she's like 14. It's a very interesting story to kind of see how far this kind of insane man will go to get this fortune. And again, I said it was a movie, but also a Netflix TV series. I don't remember the young actors' names in the series, but Neil Patrick Harris is Count Olaf, and I'm not his biggest fan, but he is in it. And then Lemony Snicket, the narrator, is done by, what's his name? The guy, Kronk from Emperor's New Groove. And basically, for those who don't know, Lemony Snicket is a pseudonym for the author's real name, but this first audiobook, since it was just recently adapted into a Netflix series, similarly to last year when I read The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot, it was read by Anne Hathaway. Similarly, that's what's happening here. Everybody who's in the Netflix series, at least for the episode 1, is kind of reading up their lines for the audiobook. And I want to say the audiobook was maybe like 2 hours and some change, so it was a really quick read, especially because sometimes I read my books on 1.2 speed because the gaps in like space are not always necessary for me. But yes, that was the first book I read in February. I enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.75. I'm not sure if I would give it higher, to be honest with you, but at least I read it. It's a middle grade book. Maybe it was a book that I probably would have read when I was a child, but I never had that opportunity, so I read it now. Next, I read My Hero Academia Volume 11, but I'm actually going to talk about both volumes together since, again, I can't really talk about these books without giving a lot of spoilers away. My Hero Academia follows Izuku Midoriya. He is a kid who's born in a world with superhero powers without one, so he doesn't have a superpower. In this world they're called quirks. Basically, he meets All Might in the beginning, and All Might sees this spark in him and is like, hey, I actually do think that you could be a hero, but you should be a hero with my quirk, and blah 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 blah. It goes on from there. I love this series. I am fully caught up when it comes to the TV show. It's season 7. I actually want to do a rewatch of it before season 8, and I also want to watch You're Next. It was in theaters before I had finished season 7, so now that I finished season 7, I want to watch it. I think it just made it on to streaming somewhere, but basically this book follows them post kidnapping. So someone was kidnapped in the book before this, in volume 10, and this is the aftermath of that, them being rescued and then going back to school. Book 12 is now that they're back in school, they're training to be heroes and they're getting their provisional hero license, which means that they will be able to help in case of emergency. It's not an official hero license, but it's a start, and usually first year students don't have the opportunity to get it, but because their class keeps getting targeted by villains, they have the opportunity. And this is the first half of the exam. I'm assuming that volume 13 has the second half of the exam, but it was great. Next book I read was Old Enough by Haley Jacobson, and this book has actually been on my list for so long. Originally, the reason I wanted to read this book, the reason I bought this book, is because randomly on Instagram I was served Haley Jacobson's marketing for this book, where she grabbed a bunch of her friends and they went on the train and they took a bunch of photographs of different friends in her community, her queer community, just reading this book on the train, and I just absolutely loved it. I thought that was such a good way to market her book, and I will fully steal that if I ever do publish my graphic novel or comic book that I want to make. Really good book. It follows Savannah, or Sav, as she first goes off to college. So it's kind of about her finding herself and discovering herself, and it's in a way kind of following her as she leaves her hometown and starts becoming the person that she's always wanted to be. It's really interesting because she is learning and growing, and it's like, it's that feeling when you feel too big for the place that you came from, in a way where you keep expanding, so it's kind of hard to fit back into the role and the place that you once had in your town because you're not that person anymore. And I think it's a really interesting idea to explore, because even when I came home from college or when I came back from studying abroad, it was like I couldn't fit and mesh back into just like the family dynamics we once had, because I was like, I'm not that person anymore. But it's a bit different here because Savannah was, they kind of allude to it in the synopsis, but trigger warning and slightly a spoiler warning, Savannah was sexually assaulted by her childhood friend's brother. So it's kind of hard for her to go back to this place that she once knew and support her friend who's been recently engaged. So it kind of follows that as like the overarching theme as she's learning who she is and learning what she likes and becoming a different person in college. And it's just, I didn't expect to like it so much. I loved it. It got me emotional, and at one point I cried, and I love stories that kind of also make me kind of wistful for an experience I never had, because there are different things that like, you always go like, oh, I wish I had that group in college. I wish I had that experience in college. But the class that she had, despite it being intense and sometimes maybe she didn't want to be there, it reminded me so much of my freshman year intro to poetry class, where it was not just me, but like it was first years, sophomores, juniors, and seniors in that class, and we made this very weird bond with each other. And like, we're all in different cliques, different majors, like we were all very different people, but when we'd see each other, we'd say hello. It was giving Breakfast Club in a really weird way. Basically, I had a class like that where we'd talk about things and explore things, but it was more on poetry, and just seeing how this group of friends that she almost gained by being in this class with people she didn't know, people in her dorms, and like how she was building her community her like freshman year, it made me think of college in such a weird way, and it made me like miss college slightly. And yeah, my heart goes out for Savannah and everything she experienced, and kind of her learning and growing herself. So this book has a really, really, really big place in my heart. I give it 5 stars. I loved it so much. Also, the paperback cover that came out way later has a Shirley Temple on it. I know Shirley Temples are Sav's things in the book, but Shirley Temples are also my thing. And it's a green book with a Shirley Temple, and it's so cute. And I was like, dang, like, I kind of wish I had that cover. I wish I had that cover. Oh my gosh. And the next book I've read or listened to, because it's an audiobook, is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I gave it a 4.25 stars, and basically the gist of this book is kind of like, it's not about the destination but the friends you make along the way type of feeling, where Dolly's talking about there's all these different types of love, and like, while relationships come and go, but your friends are forever, is really what it was giving to me. And in a way, it was a strangely validating book, because I am ace, arrow ace, and I always try to explain to people that I feel so fulfilled in the friendships and relationships that I have with people that are not romantically inclined. And basically Dolly just says, like, in a way she's talking about like how relationships will come later, but you should really cherish these moments you have with your friends. And I don't know, it just, in a way, I felt really seen and recognized for like caring more about friendships than relationships, but also you still have time to live your life and have fun, especially because we're in a time where I feel like a lot of people are getting serious relationships, getting engaged, getting married, and I'm not, and I don't feel bad about that, you know, but also it's nice to know that other people think like that too, when all you see around you are people in relationships. So I talked about My Hero Academia Volume 12, which I read next. The last thing that I read this month is actually The Reptile Room by Lemony Snicket, which is a series of unfortunate events, book 2. Similarly to book 1, it follows the next location the Baudelaire children are moved to, the Reptile Room. It follows their uncle, Dr. Montgomery, as he looks after them before Count Olaf kind of inserts himself into the situation, and inevitably something happens and they no longer can live with Montgomery and they have to get moved again. It's kind of the point of the entire book. Like, every time you think that they have a nice home and you think they can stay with someone, they can't. They will always have to keep moving, and basically they keep moving until the ending, which is book 12. So I personally, if that is too much for you, I wouldn't read it. But I'm kind of curious to see where the adventure goes and what these kids go through. But also it's like slightly depressing, so I don't read it too quick after another. So those are the 7 books I read in January and February. We have 2 5 stars, 1 4.25 star, 1 4 star, 1 3.75 star, and then 2 3.5 stars. And so I don't even know what the average of that is at this point, but I'm off to a good start. I think last year I also read about 5 books in January and February. It's weird that I feel like strangely confident in my reading goal of 25 books. I feel like I'm reading a lot faster than in previous years, and I also feel like I have more time to read, and I think that comes with intentionally taking time out of my day to read. And so that's been really cool. I'm recording this book in March, and I've already finished another book, and I'm almost gonna finish another one. So just showing you the books read spread. This is a little spoiler for March. You can see the next book that I read, Miss Sherry Frankie, but this is the spread so far for books I read this year, and hopefully I actually get to fill out this page, which is really cool. So that's everything I read in January and February. If you made it to this part of the video, make sure you comment the little book stack emoji. Thanks so much for watching and for sticking with me. I have a 2025 reading goals video out, a beginning of the year book tag video out, and a recap of the books I read all of 2024, and the 24-hour reading vlog that I was talking about in the beginning of the video. So there's a lot of book content out there by me if you want to watch it. But thanks so much for checking back here and watching my channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!